Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Who was popping? All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today was a depressing day for me. Be completely honest and upfront with you guys. This page is mainly about, battling with issues that people don't confess to or man up to or admit to or socialize about. And it's also a page where we find comfort within our own dealings, our own sorrow, our own depression, whether it's the loss of a life or whether it's just you being mentally depressed at that time or that situation. But today was a depressing one for me. I battled with myself throughout the day. I slept a lot and I just wasn't feeling it today. But that's okay because the shaitan, he will attack you each and every day upon this earth. You know what I'm saying? You will never get a break from the devil, especially if you're a strong individual, especially if you have a bright future ahead of you. It's always going to be a fight. It's always going to be a battle. Excuse me, my kid is running around right now. But anyway, I was following up on my last video when I was speaking about being fraud in the streets and when I first actually was introduced into depression. I was first struck with depression. I was actually incarcerated for 8 years, and throughout the 8 years of my incarceration, I always, didn't run across problems like I had. Like I didn't have knowledge of self. I didn't become aware of my own flaws, of my own ignorance until I accepted Islam as my deen, as my faith. So at the age of 24, I went in at the age of 19. At the age of 24, that's when I became conscious of myself. I started to get self-knowledge of myself. I started to know how I reacted to certain things, what I liked, what I disliked, what I was good at, what I was bad at, and I stood in my lane. And that year was like 2012. That 1 year, 8 months in totality, I went through a severe form of depression and anxiety. Got my first gray hair, and I left out of that dome, and I told myself I will never allow that to happen again. So when I went into the next dome, off came the shirt. Fuck it, I'm flawed out, flawless. I let everything be known and told people what it was hitting for. When somebody tried to joke about it, because it was that open, it was comfortable to joke about it, I joked right back, and I got over my own past. Came home 2016. After quitting smoking cigarettes for a year, I picked back up cigarettes. I realized that it's hard out here. It's hard to live out here. After being incarcerated for 8 years, when I first hit the streets and I seen how fast paced everything was and how people was, more swagged out and how people wasn't carrying themselves how they carried themselves in 2008, I was like lost. You know what I mean? I was looking around like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't really like the vibe. And I tried to find myself fitting in. You know what I mean? Like, how do I move? You know what I'm saying? I ran across my LaBar's mother on July the 4th, 4th of July. And, man, I thought that was the best relationship I ever was in. I was so happy I had a female that was actually educating me about my history, Black American history. Martin Luther King, his last book before he died, which what caused a lot of people to really look at him differently and want him dead because he was going on a different path. That relationship didn't last. It did not last because she was battling with bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. She had PTSD, whatever you call that, postpartum stress from the army. She had got shot in the army and almost got hit with a missile. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of things she was dealing with inside of her own conscience that I did not know and was not aware of until I started seeing that side come out of her. We went from being the best of friends to the worst of enemies, and not trying to just cover my faults. I really didn't have faults in that relationship, yo. I never cheated on her. I wanted to be with her that bad. But when Allah has something for you, it's going to be for you. And when something is not for you, that person will push you away from them. Yeah, because it's not supposed to connect. We're not supposed to be together. And that's what happened inside of that relationship. I had learned myself. I had got myself to a spot in a position where I felt good about myself. And I ran across her and all that left. All that went down the drain. I felt like a base below zero again. I felt like I was unworthy. I felt like I was unattractive. I had no confidence because she wasn't fueling me with it. she was playing on me as if I was just an individual, a pawn on a chessboard. Where they had bishops, kings, queens, and everything else tosses. I was a pawn. That's how I felt. Until one day, a beautiful white chick I was working at Applebee's with, she spoke. I always liked it on her, but I didn't think she messed with black dudes. She had spoke to me, and it was in like a hey, like that type of sense. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I've been that. You heard what the quick. And that's crazy because a person could pick your confidence up so fast, and I never looked back. I had to remind myself, and she was like, "Well, what about the kids?" I'm like, "Well, what about the dudes you was talking about?" I'm like, "I guess that's the person you wanted to be around the kids anyway." So boom, that relationship was over. Um, I was going through hell after that relationship with her. At that time, she was about, I would say, 4 months pregnant with my baby. Yeah, 4 months pregnant. And like I said, I was at my hot life. Her kids were my kids. They called me daddy. I called her wife and introduced her to everybody as my wife. And it just was not in the Lord's will for us to be together. You know what I mean? After I stopped fooling with her or stopped running after her, my phone was getting blown up. And I wasn't liking that. Like, some people be like, oh, ball in my court now. I wasn't feeling all that. I had to actually block her number. You know what I mean? She would text me all throughout the day, all throughout the night. I had to block her number. Um, she was coming to my job, bringing socks to my job. If anything I forgot at the house, she would bring to the job just to get attention, to grasp my attention. But in all actuality, she just didn't know you were losing my attention even more by doing these things, because it's not that serious, nor is it that deep. And you had me in a state of Islam to you. You had me in a state of complete submission to you. You didn't want that. So now when I'm not necessarily acting out, but I'm not acting into you, or I'm not paying you any kind of attention, that's not paying dividends. Now you want that light back because you saw something within me. You saw potential within me, but you wasn't patient enough to deal with it. Like I said, when I say patient enough to deal with it, I mean in the sense that with yourself. Because love, like I said, I can sit here and admit I did not cheat on her. And that's the only relationship that I've ever been with when I did not cheat on a person. Didn't get females' number, I did not go out. I was actually caged in a box because I wanted that to work. I really wanted that to work. But anyway, throughout the pregnancy with her, it was wild. She would get mad at me if I don't answer the phone. She would get mad at me if I wouldn't bring her a can of soup. She would get mad at me if I text back too late, and it was stressful. I didn't want that within the relationship. I just wanted us to be on good terms because she was a beautiful individual in my eyesight, and she was a bad, how we would say. You know what I mean? I went to the doctor with her to find out the gender. That's when I found out that my baby was going to be a boy who was Mahdi. All praise be to Allah. That's my baby. But anyway, things were good. And I ran across another individual. And this is where my flaws and my faults start to kick in. I ran across Dreamer. I went to Dollar General on my grandmother's birthday. And I walked in and I seen her. I'm like, she's beautiful. But I ain't really paying no mind to her because, I'm just coming to get some for grams. I want to scope something out, of course, but I go grab some a card and some balloons for my grandma. I come back out, and she dealing with customers, and I'm looking at her from the back. I'm like, whew. I said to myself, this is the words that I said to myself. I said, whoever got that at night is a happy individual. And this is where the shit stirs up. This is where the shit stirs up because once Dreamer came into my life changed for the better though. It got worse, but all my worst endeavors was for the better. All my worst situations and my bad situations were for the better. Like I said, I'm in the happiest state of my life. Today I was depressed. I'm not gonna lie, no stunt. Today was a depressful day. I'm still kind of recovering in my body, in my mind from that. It was bad. But like I said, this page is about, us. It's about battling with these type of entities. So if you're feeling like I'm feeling today, hashtag not alone. And I'm gonna title this NWA, not alone anymore. I am you, you are me. and together we'll beat all these adversities that we face: anxiety, fear, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, bipolar depression. We'll fight these things together. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah inna ilahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I'll be back. Furthermore, with the story of Dreamy and Brittany, my two baby mothers who were pregnant at the same time. I'll be back with that story. Assalamu alaikum.